Welcome back, everyone, to a new story. We really hope you enjoy it. Dr. Stone, if this medication makes me look like a woman, I still have to take it, right? My hands were sweating. I gripped the sides of the examination chair so tightly my knuckles were white. The cool, sterile air of Dr. Patricia Stone's office felt like a stark contrast to the burning pain radiating from my face. It had been 3 years. 3 long, agonizing years of living like a ghost. I was 23, but I felt ancient, withered by shame and self-hatred. The severe cystic acne had started insidiously, a cluster of small pustules on my jawline. I thought it was just bad puberty, late onset, perhaps, but it wasn't. It grew rapidly, developing into deep, swollen nodes that pulsed with pain. Every time I moved my jaw to eat, or even laughed, the cysts throbbed. They spread across my cheeks and up to my temples, forming a crimson, inflamed mask. I had become obsessed with mirrors, not looking at them, but avoiding them. I draped towels over my bathroom mirror. I kept my phone screen facing away from me. Photos. Forget it. The last time someone tried to take a picture of me, I nearly threw a panic attack. Dr. Stone, a woman in her late 40s with kind, tired eyes, looked at me over her glasses. She flipped through my thick file, which detailed my history of failed treatments: benzoyl peroxide that bleached my pillowcases and clothes, adapalene that peeled my skin raw, doxycycline that upset my stomach, even 3 cycles of isotretinoin and Accutane that briefly cleared things up, only for the acne to return with a vengeance. "Kyle," she said softly, "you're an extreme case. Your body's response to traditional therapies suggests a hormonal imbalance we haven't been able to pinpoint fully, or perhaps a genetic predisposition that's simply too aggressive for standard care." I just nodded, unable to articulate the depth of my despair. The cystic nodules didn't just hurt physically, they drained my soul. I'd spent hours on forums, searching for a cure. I had tried everything short of surgery. The psychological toll was far greater than the physical. I hadn't slept through the night in months, haunted by the memory of staring at my ceiling, feeling the pulse in my cysts. My social life had evaporated. My ex-girlfriend, Rachel, broke up with me 2 years prior. I remembered her exact words, delivered gently over coffee, but piercing like glass shards. "Kyle, I don't recognize you anymore. You hide constantly. You've changed." It wasn't just the physical change, it was the psychological one. I was no longer the confident, funny Kyle she fell for. I was the guy who constantly looked down, spoke quietly, and avoided intimacy for fear of exposing my filth. "We're running out of options, Kyle," Dr. Stone continued. "We've discussed this, and I've reviewed your latest blood work." She paused, making direct eye contact. "The final, most drastic option we haven't explored, but one that has a high success rate for severe hormonal acne like yours, is a form of anti-androgen therapy, specifically spironolactone, combined with low-dose estrogen." I swallowed hard. I knew where this was going. I'd read about it on the deep corners of the internet. "It's a form of transgender hormone therapy," she stated plainly, "and it will reverse the high androgen levels that are causing your skin's overactive sebum production." I just stared at her. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioning. My mind screamed at me transgender. I was a straight male. I liked girls. I had never felt anything but male. But the voice in my head, the voice of despair, screamed louder. "Anything is better than this." She pushed a button, and a screen dropped from the ceiling, displaying a detailed anatomical diagram. My stomach turned as she began explaining the full list of side effects that were, in fact, the entire purpose of the treatment. "I need to be absolutely transparent, Kyle," Dr. Stone said, her tone professional but deeply compassionate. "This will profoundly change your body, and possibly your self-perception. The changes are often permanent and cumulative over time." She clicked through illustrations of the expected physical results. My heart hammered against my ribs as she explained. The skin will soften significantly, reducing oil production. The redness and inflammation will decrease dramatically, and over time, any scarring will become much less noticeable. This part I'm confident about. Body hair will thin and lighten the arms, legs, and potentially the face will become smoother. The hairline might shift slightly, softening the temples. Body fat distribution. This is where most of the change happens. Your body will naturally reroute fat deposits. They'll shift from your abdomen to your hips, buttocks, and thighs. Your waist may narrow. Shutting. You will experience breast growth. This isn't just fat, it will be actual mammary tissue developing. It can be sensitive, even painful at first. She clicked on a diagram showing the changes in the pectoral area. This is irreversible. You may grow to require a bra. Reproductive system. Your testosterone will be significantly suppressed. Testicular volume will decrease. Libido will change, potentially decreasing. You will almost certainly become sterile. I couldn't breathe. The diagram of the breasts growing, the fat migrating to the hips. I felt dizzy. This wasn't just a medication. It was a transformation. It was a complete obliteration of my current physical reality. I understand this is overwhelming. Dr. Stone continued. I suggest you go home. Think about it for a few days. Talk to your family. But know that this is truly the only path left to address the root cause of your specific condition. The alternative is continued suffering and potential long-term infection. I spent the rest of the day in a haze. I drove home, parked the car, and just sat there. The sun was setting, casting long shadows. My reflection in the car window was distorted, but I could still make out the angry red topography of my face. Inside the house, I walked past the towel-covered mirror in the hallway. I didn't stop. I went to the guest bathroom, which didn't have a towel. I flicked on the fluorescent lights. The bright, unforgiving light hit me, and for the first time in months, I forced myself to look. The reflection staring back was horrifying. The cysts were swollen, some ready to pop. My eyes were red from lack of sleep and strain. My jawline, which had once been firm, was lumpy and distorted. Tears sprang to my eyes, not just a quiet tear or two, but heaving sobs that racked my chest. I stared at the man in the mirror, and I didn't see myself. I saw a monster. I saw the person who hid from the world, who had lost his job because he was too ashamed to attend meetings, who pushed away the people who loved him because he couldn't stand their pity. I leaned against the sink, burying my face in my hands. The pain in my skin was nothing compared to the pain in my heart. The fear of transformation was real, but the fear of not transforming was far greater. If this makes me happy, if it takes away the pain, does it matter who I become? The next morning, I was back in Dr. Stone's office before she even officially opened. "Kyle," she said, "surprised to see me so early." "I'll do it," I said, my voice hoarse from crying the night before. I held my hands out, palm up, revealing the red welts where my nails had dug in. I can't live like this anymore. I'll take the risk. Just please, make the pain stop." She looked at me for a long time, then smiled gently. "All right, Kyle, let's start the process. But be prepared. This isn't just about clearing your skin. It's about a fundamental change, and you may find that the person on the other side of this journey is someone you didn't know existed." I didn't know it then, but in that moment, I signed up for more than just a medication. I signed up for a complete overhaul of my life, my body, and my very soul. The first weeks were a strange mix of hope and anxiety. Dr. Stone started me on a very low dose of spironolactone and a minimal amount of estrogen. The goal was to gradually introduce the changes without shocking my system. Within days, I noticed the first, almost magical change. My skin wasn't oily anymore. For years, I had to blot my face hourly, dealing with a constant greasy film. Now, when I touched my forehead, my fingertips came away dry and smooth. The acne on my temples, once vibrant and angry, started to calm down. The redness began to recede, revealing patches of healthy, pale skin underneath. The feeling of hope was intoxicating, but soon after, the physical changes started in earnest, and they brought with them a different kind of anxiety. About 2 weeks in, I felt a new sensation when I put on my favorite work shirt. It was a faint ache in my chest, not a sharp pain, more like a persistent tenderness, specifically concentrated around the nipples. It felt like a constant bruise. I dismissed it as muscle soreness from a workout, but the feeling lingered, getting stronger with each day. I tried to ignore it, wearing loose-fitting shirts and avoiding anything that would rub against the area, but the pain intensified. When I was running to catch the bus, the jiggling movement caused a surprisingly sharp discomfort. I found myself instinctively holding my chest as I ran, feeling embarrassed even though no one else seemed to notice. One evening, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I stood in front of my bedroom mirror, lifting my shirt. The changes were subtle, but present. My chest looked slightly fuller, the skin around my nipples was puffy, and the nipples themselves were swollen and sensitive to the touch. It felt like a small, hard pea-sized lump underneath. This is it, I thought. This is actually happening. Dr. Stone had prepared me for this. It will feel tender, like puberty, she'd warned. You may even feel small lumps developing. This is normal breast tissue growth. I panicked slightly. I didn't want this part. I wanted the clear skin, but not this. I just wanted to go back to being a normal guy. But then I looked at my face again. The redness was almost entirely gone. My cheekbones were starting to peek through the swelling. I could see the promise of smooth skin, and the memory of the past 3 years made me push back the rising tide of shame. I sent a quick email to Dr. Stone, detailing the discomfort. She responded promptly, suggesting a practical solution I dreaded. Kyle, I recommend buying a sports bra or a compression shirt. It will help support the tissue and minimize pain from movement. The discomfort often eases once proper support is applied. I stared at the screen. Buy a sports bra, I couldn't do that. That was a line I hadn't prepared to cross. I was supposed to be a guy, going into the women's athletics section, trying on a bra, actually purchasing it. The idea made my cheeks flush. But the pain was real. I spent another day trying to ignore it, wincing with every movement, until I finally gave up. The next evening, I went to the large department store on the outskirts of town. I figured no one I knew would be there. My heart hammered in my chest as I walked through the main doors. I veered right past the men's clothing section, past the electronics, toward the bright, colorful displays of women's athletic wear. The mannequins were sleek and muscular, displaying form-fitting tops and yoga pants. I tried to look casual, walking slowly as if I were looking for something specific. My eyes darted around the aisle. I felt like every person passing by knew exactly what I was doing, knew exactly what I was hiding under my loose t-shirt. I quickly grabbed a couple of sports bras in neutral colors, black and gray. I picked sizes I thought might be right, avoiding eye contact with the sales associate at the counter, who seemed completely indifferent to my purchase. I rushed back to my car, tossing the paper bag onto the passenger seat as if it were contraband. I drove straight home, where I could be alone in my bedroom. I closed the door and locked it. I pulled out the black sports bra first. It looked tiny, soft, and completely alien. The fabric was stretchy but firm. The straps were thick. My hands trembled as I took off my shirt. The sight of my chest made me feel a deep sense of vulnerability. It was definitely larger now, softer, less defined by muscle and more rounded. I lifted the sports bra and slipped it over my head. The material felt cool against my skin. As I adjusted the straps, the fabric compressed my chest. It was an immediate sensation of support and comfort. The constant ache from my nipples pressing against my shirt disappeared instantly. The compression held everything in place, preventing the movements that caused me so much pain. I looked at myself in the full-length mirror. The bra gave my chest a different shape entirely. It didn't look like a woman's full breast yet, but it certainly didn't look like a man's chest either. It looked rounder, softer. I immediately recognized the psychological impact of the change. This wasn't just physical healing, this was dressing differently. I was now wearing female clothing. The moment I put on that sports bra, I crossed a threshold. I was no longer just a guy dealing with a side effect. I was a person whose clothing choices were dictated by a new physiology. I kept the bra on for the rest of the night. It felt comfortable, almost like a hug. It was strange, but undeniably good. The next morning, I did it again. I put on the sports bra before my work shirt. The combination felt seamless and hidden. I spent the day with a strange, secretive feeling. The discomfort was gone, replaced by a sense of security. Over the next few weeks, I bought more bras, experimenting with different styles. Some were basic sports bras, others were slightly more stylish, meant for light activity. I found that I preferred the styles that offered more structure, more support. It felt right. The changes continued. My skin was a miracle. The redness had vanished. The cysts were almost completely gone, leaving only flat, fading scars. My face was pale and clear for the first time in 3 years. The side effect of the treatment had begun to feel like the primary effect, and the primary goal, clear skin, had become secondary to the developing person in front of the mirror. 2 months into the treatment, the clothing crisis moved south. I was getting dressed for work, pulling on my favorite pair of jeans, a dark wash pair I'd owned for years. I had to wiggle into them more than usual. When I finally fastened the button, I noticed they felt significantly tighter around my hips and buttocks. I sat down, and the waistband felt restrictive. I stood up again, looking in the mirror. My silhouette had changed. My waist looked slightly smaller, and my hips and rear seemed to have filled out. Dr. Stone's explanation of fat redistribution was happening. The excess fat I'd always carried in my midsection was shifting to my lower body. My male jeans were designed for a different shape. The cut was straight down through the hips. Now, the new curves were being compressed uncomfortably by the inflexible denim. It became a pattern. Every few days, my clothes felt a little bit tighter. The pressure on my hips was constant. My closet full of masculine clothing was quickly becoming obsolete. I needed new pants. The idea of buying new men's jeans felt wrong. I tried on a size larger, but they were baggy around the legs and waist while still pinching my hips. The proportions didn't work for my developing figure. I started to get curious. I remembered the sensation of putting on the sports bra, the strange mix of embarrassment and comfort. I wondered if female clothing, specifically cut for a different body shape, would be more comfortable for this new body. This time, I didn't go to the department store for activewear. I went to the main retail area, and I walked straight into a boutique that sold fashionable women's clothing. I felt my face flush as I entered, but the embarrassment was less intense than the first time. The bra incident had paved the way. I browsed the aisles, looking at dresses, skirts, and blouses. Then I found the jeans section. Skinny jeans. Slim fit. I picked up a pair of dark blue, stretchy denim jeans in a size that matched my previous waist measurements, maybe one size up just in case. I went into the changing room and locked the door. I took off my ill-fitting male jeans and held up the new pair. They felt different right away. The fabric was lighter, softer, more elastic than anything I was used to. I pulled them up my legs. The fit was instantly, startlingly different. The jeans curved around my hips and buttocks in a way that my old jeans never did. They clung to my shape. They compressed my legs and hips gently, providing support rather than restriction. When I fastened the button, there was no pinching, just a snug, comfortable fit around my new curves. I looked in the mirror. I was breathless. The person staring back at me was not Kyle, not the one I remembered. The tight fit emphasized a feminine silhouette, a defined waist that flared slightly at the hips, leading down to slim legs. The way the jeans highlighted my curves felt natural, not like a costume. The internal monologue began again. This isn't just clothing, it's a statement. This is a woman's body I'm seeing. I stared at myself, a mix of shame and curiosity washing over me. Shame because I knew society would judge me for this. Curiosity because I liked how it looked. I liked how it felt. The fabric, the cut. Everything about the fit made me feel comfortable in a way my old clothes no longer did. I bought 3 pairs of skinny jeans. I justified it by thinking, they are more comfortable for my new body. By month 3, the change in my facial appearance was nearly complete. Dr. Stone had increased the dose slightly, and the effects were profound. My skin was soft, pale, and completely clear. The texture was smooth, almost velvety to the touch. The rough stubble of my beard, once thick and dark, was now noticeably thinner and lighter. I barely needed to shave. The most shocking change, however, was the shape of my face itself. The high testosterone levels had previously given me a defined, slightly aggressive jawline. With the reduction in male hormones, the fat deposits around my face had redistributed. My cheeks were softer, my jawline wasn't as square. My eyes, which used to be hidden behind dark circles and stressed expressions, now appeared larger and clearer. One morning, I was getting ready for work. I decided to try wearing one of my new skinny jeans with a blouse I'd bought from the women's section. I chose a simple button-up blouse, a soft cotton fabric in light blue, which draped smoothly over my developing figure. When I looked in the mirror, I stopped dead in my tracks. The person staring back was beautiful. Not in a vain way, but beautiful in a way I hadn't seen myself in years. The face was soft, feminine. The body had distinct curves. The clothes fit perfectly. I whispered to the reflection, "This isn't Kyle." This was the core of my identity crisis. I wasn't just dressing like a woman, I was looking like one. The physical reality of the hormone therapy was fully realized. I was no longer just experiencing side effects, I was experiencing a full-scale physical metamorphosis. I spent an hour just staring at myself. I experimented with postures, standing tall, hips slightly thrust forward. The movement felt natural and fluid. I tried to look masculine, but it felt forced, unnatural. The shame was still there, a constant hum in the background, but it was overshadowed by a powerful new emotion, a sense of belonging. The reflection matched the feeling I was developing inside, a calmness, a softness I hadn't possessed when I was constantly at war with my physical appearance. At work, the changes didn't go unnoticed. My coworkers were cautious. They didn't know how to comment on my new appearance. But my cubicle neighbor, Evan, a kind, quiet man who worked in IT, finally said something. "Hey, Kyle," he said one morning, "you really look different." My heart rate quickened. I braced myself for judgment, for the inevitable question, "What's wrong with you?" "I started new medication for my skin, Evan," I explained vaguely. "It's finally working." "That's fantastic," he said genuinely. "But seriously, it's more than just clear skin. You look healthy and, I don't know, softer." He hesitated, then added, "You look good. Man, really good." I mumbled a thank you and returned to my desk, but the interaction echoed in my head all day. Softer. That was exactly right. It was in these moments, the moment of seeing the full feminine shape in the jeans, the moment of the clear reflection in the mirror, the moment of Evan's genuine compliment, that the shame began to recede, replaced by a deep curiosity. What if I let go of Kyle completely? 3 months into the hormone therapy, I was at a crossroads. The physical changes had solidified. My chest was clearly developed. Requiring full support from a C-cup bra, I had purchased my first set of real bras, with lace and padding, from a specialized shop. My hips and rear were distinctly curved. My face was unequivocally feminine. I woke up one morning, looked in the mirror, and the final crisis of identity hit me. The face staring back at me was not a man's face. It was a woman's. The long, soft strands of my hair, once kept short and styled for a male look, now framed my face and brushed my shoulders. "Is this still me?" I whispered. The internal battle raged daily. A part of me, the Kyle part, the socially conditioned male, was terrified. He saw a man who had sacrificed his masculinity to heal his skin. He felt regret for the life he was leaving behind. He missed the certainty of his old identity. But another part of me, the part that felt safe in the sports bra, comfortable in the new jeans, and serene when I looked at the clear-skinned reflection, welcomed the change. This part felt right. The constant feeling of fighting my body had disappeared. I realized I felt a profound sense of relief in my new appearance. The shame was gone. The old shame about the acne was replaced by a new, exciting vulnerability. The person I was becoming felt more natural, more true to my internal self than the person I had struggled to be for 23 years. Work was holding its annual summer party. It was a semi-formal event at a local restaurant. This was a significant hurdle. I had avoided all social gatherings for the past 2 years. Citing illness, now I felt compelled to go. My new self wanted to be seen, not hidden away. Choosing an outfit was a journey in itself. I looked at my collection of new clothing, I wanted something that would fit the new me without being too overt. I settled on a light-colored blouse, possibly a pale pink or coral color, paired with a white skirt and a light jacket. I had learned to match colors and silhouettes. The blouse would drape gently over my upper body, highlighting the new curves without being scandalous. The skirt would fall lightly over my hips and thighs. When I dressed for the party, I felt a familiar pang of anxiety. Was I presenting as a man, as a woman in the end? I decided to just dress comfortably and confidently, letting others interpret it as they chose. At the restaurant, I found a quiet corner with my plate of appetizers. My coworkers were gathered in groups. The atmosphere was light and friendly. That's when Evan walked over. He was wearing a casual suit, looked handsome, and offered a friendly smile. "Hey, Kyle," he said. "It's good to see you outside of work. You're never at these things." "It's good to be here," I replied, feeling slightly self-conscious. I knew he was looking at my outfit, the soft, flowy blouse, and the way my hips looked in the skirt. "You really do look different," Evan said, a genuine warmth in his voice. He wasn't teasing, he seemed genuinely fascinated. He tilted his head slightly. "I mean, really different. I hope this medication isn't causing you any trouble, but you really look amazing." My cheeks flushed. "Oh, no trouble. It's a new phase, and thanks. I feel a lot better." We talked for about 15 minutes. We discussed work, the new projects, and our shared love for sci-fi movies. But the subtext was different. Evan looked at me in a way I hadn't been looked at since high school. It wasn't just friendly, it felt like a gentle flirtation. He complimented my sense of style. "You always look so put together," he said. Even though I had only started buying new clothes, he made prolonged eye contact. He laughed easily at my jokes. This was new territory. I was being flirted with, as Kyle. I had been an attractive man before the acne, but after 3 years of hiding, I had forgotten how to interact. Now, as this developing person, I felt a strange mixture of excitement and shyness. He made a comment that made my stomach flutter. "You know, Kyle, or whoever you are, you're really beautiful." I felt my heart pound against my ribs. "Thank you, Evan," I said, looking away for a second. "That means a lot." "It really does look great on you, whatever you're doing. Keep doing it," he smiled. I left the party feeling exhilarated. Evan's interaction crystallized something for me. The world was reacting positively to this new identity. The fear and shame I felt about becoming feminine were largely internalized. When others reacted with genuine warmth and attraction, the new identity felt validated and real. The next month, I went back to Dr. Stone for my regular checkup. "How are you feeling, Kyle?" she asked, looking at my chart and then at my face. "Your skin looks completely clear now. The scars are fading beautifully." "I feel great, Dr. Stone." I said that the physical symptoms, they're gone. She paused. "How is the emotional and psychological side?" I took a deep breath. "It's been challenging. I mean, I never expected to become this person, but I also feel a profound sense of peace. The way I look in the mirror now, it finally matches something inside me that I didn't even know was there before." "We call that internal congruence." Dr. Stone nodded wisely. "It's very common in cases where a high androgen level causes significant distress. The treatment fixes the chemical imbalance, and the physical changes align with the suppressed gender identity. It feels less like a new identity and more like finding something that was always there, just hidden by the old body," I mused. Dr. Stone put down her pen and looked directly at me. "I've noticed in your records, Kyle, that you've been consistent about this treatment, even though it's taken you far beyond a cure for acne. We haven't discussed a change in legal status, but in our medical records, if this is how you identify, we should be reflecting that." "What do you mean?" I asked. "What name would you prefer I put on your chart from now on?" I froze. I hadn't explicitly thought about a new name. I had used Kyle my whole life, but standing there, in that moment, seeing Dr. Stone's calm and accepting expression, a name formed in my mind. "Macy," I whispered. The name felt right immediately. It felt soft and warm, like the clothes I was wearing and the skin I inhabited. It felt like me. Dr. Stone smiled genuinely. Macy, it's a lovely name. She picked up her pen. Macy, and for the middle name, do you have one in mind? No, I said, feeling slightly flustered. Just Macy for now. Or maybe my sister's name, Elena Macy Elena. Macy Elena, welcome. Macy, she said warmly. Writing it down. I knew this would happen. Almost everyone who goes through this type of therapy, when the physical changes are so prominent, eventually finds their true self. The physical change often unlocks the psychological one. You look relieved. I looked down at my hands. They were smaller, softer, with slender fingers. The changes were undeniable. I am relieved, I said, a tear rolling down my cheek. More than you know. It wasn't a sad tear. It was a tear of release. I wasn't Kyle anymore. I was Macy. The first person I knew I had to tell was my sister, Sarah. She lived 2 states away, and we talked frequently, but I hadn't seen her in person since the transformation truly began. She knew about the acne, of course, and about the hormone therapy, but I had glossed over the extent of the changes. I booked a flight to see her for a weekend. The anxiety was immense. I packed my new wardrobe, carefully choosing items that would look natural on me. I packed a light, stretchy dress that hugged my new figure in all the right places, along with comfortable flats. I knew I couldn't hide it, nor did I want to. When I landed, Sarah was waiting for me at the arrival gate. She scanned the crowd, looking for her brother. I walked up to her, a small tentative smile on my face. She stopped dead. Her jaw dropped. Kyle, she whispered, staring at me as I approached. Hey, Sarah, I said, my voice sounding softer, higher in pitch than she remembered. Oh, wow. She put her hand over her mouth. You look incredible. You look like a different person. She saw the new features immediately, the feminine face, the subtle curves, the clear skin. I felt a pang of nervousness, wondering if I'd made a mistake. She rushed forward and hugged me tightly. We embraced for a long time. Look at you, she said, pulling back, her eyes shining with tears. You're beautiful. Thank you, Sarah, I said, my voice catching in my throat. I didn't know it was going to be this much change. You look like you, but a much happier version. We went back to her place and talked for hours. I told her everything, the physical pain, the shame, the desperation that led me to Dr. Stone. I described the gradual changes, the fear in the changing room, and the relief when I finally found clothing that fit. I feel like I finally found myself. Sarah, I confided, sitting on her living room couch. I know it's a huge shift. I know I'm not who you grew up with. But this person here, this is who I'm supposed to be. She looked at me with deep affection. Macy, she said, using the name naturally for the first time. Macy, I'm just happy you're happy. That's all that matters to me. You were so miserable before. Seeing you like this, clear-skinned and confident, I love this new you. She got up and gave me another hug. Come on, let's go through your clothes. I bet you've got some serious style now, don't you? We spent the afternoon together, shopping at a local boutique. Sarah helped me pick out a few more pieces, guiding me towards softer, more feminine styles that matched my new body shape. She taught me how to apply makeup, just a touch of foundation, a light mascara, and a subtle coral lipstick to bring out my complexion. When I looked in the mirror with the lipstick on, a full feminine face stared back. It was undeniable. It was empowering. After returning from Sarah's, I started a new chapter of my life. I had a new name, Macy, in my personal life, a new look and a new confidence. I decided to make another leap and invite Evan for coffee. I was nervous. This would be the first real date I'd had since the transformation began. I carefully chose my outfit, a soft blue button-down blouse, one of my favorites, my comfortable dark skinny jeans, and a pair of ballet flats. I even put on a small amount of makeup, focusing on the coral lipstick Sarah had given me. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Evan was exactly as kind and friendly as he'd been at the work party. He immediately pulled out my chair for me. A simple act of chivalry that made my heart flutter. "You look great, Macy," he said. I hesitated. "Wait, Evan, how did you know to call me Macy?" He laughed gently. I asked around the office. "People notice the name change on your emails. It's not a secret, really." He then leaned in slightly, a mischievous look in his eye. "It fits you better than Kyle. Anyway, it's softer." We spent an hour talking. The conversation flowed easily. The flirtation from the work party escalated slightly. He paid me sincere compliments about my new look, focusing not just on the external appearance, but on the new sense of self I carried. "It sounds like you went through something really tough," he said, holding his coffee mug. "But I have to say, it really suited you." I blushed deeply. It was the journey, but I'm finally happy in my skin. I decided to be honest with him. I explained, in general terms, the physical changes. The doctors put me on this therapy to fix my skin, but it ended up changing everything. I'm not a man anymore. Evan looked at me, a calm, understanding expression on his face. I figured something like that might be happening. But honestly, Macy, it doesn't change anything for me. You're still the same person I enjoy talking to. If anything, you're more open and relaxed than you used to be. When he walked me to my car, he gently placed his hand on the small of my back as we crossed the street. The touch was light, but electric. It made me realize I hadn't experienced intimacy like this in years. It felt natural, comforting, and exciting. The conversation with Sarah had been easy. The conversation with my parents was the hardest part. They lived in another city, and I had been vague over the phone about the extent of my transformation. I knew I had to face them in person. I flew home for the weekend. I knew this would either make or break my relationship with them. My dad especially had always been traditional, a man who believed in clear gender roles. When I arrived at their house, they immediately noticed the change. Mom hugged me first, her embrace a little tighter, her questions more hesitant. "Kyle," she started, you look so much better. The skin..." "Mom, Dad, can we sit down?" I asked. We went to the living room, and I told them everything, starting with the acne, moving through the medical decision, and finally, explaining the transformation into Macy. I watched my dad's face fall as I described the changes, the new clothing, and the realization of my true identity. "I know this is hard to understand," I said, my voice shaking. "I didn't choose this transformation for fun. I chose it out of desperation to fix my body. But once I was on this path, I found out I was meant to be Macy." My mom started crying softly. "But we raised you as a boy, Kyle. This is a lot to take in." "I'm sorry, Mom, but I have to be honest with you. This is me. This is who I am now. And I've never been happier. I hope you can accept me." Dad sat silently for a long time. The tension was palpable. He looked from me to my mother. Finally, he spoke. "So you're not our son anymore? You're our daughter." "Yes, Dad, I am." "Well," he said. Getting up, he walked toward the kitchen. "I need some time to process this. I need a beer." Mom put her arms around me and pulled me close. "I'll always love you, honey," she whispered. "This will take time for your father, but we will always love you." I stayed for the weekend. The atmosphere was awkward, but not hostile. Dad avoided the topic, but he started using my name, Macy, in small, hesitant ways. By the end of the weekend, when he drove me to the airport, he simply said, "Be well, Macy. Call us when you land." I knew it wasn't total acceptance, but it was a beginning. 1 year into my new life, I knew I needed to take the next step. My transformation was complete. I was living full-time as Macy, accepted by my sister, co-workers, and starting to be accepted by my parents. I felt ready for the next level of transformation legal recognition. I visited Dr. Stone again. She helped me with the necessary paperwork for a legal name and gender change. She provided the medical documentation, confirming that I had undergone physical and psychological transformation through hormone replacement therapy, consistent with a gender transition. I started the process of applying for a new Social Security card, a new driver's license, and eventually, a new birth certificate. The legal process was complex and bureaucratic. Filled with forms and appointments, it took 6 months. The moment came when I finally held the official envelope in my hands. I tore it open. Inside was a crisp, new piece of paper, a certified copy of my updated birth certificate. I looked at the top right corner, name Macy Elena Rodriguez. I read the section near the bottom, gender F. A wave of emotion hit me. This piece of paper confirmed everything. It wasn't just a physical change anymore. It was a societal, legal truth. The document validated my existence. Tears welled in my eyes. I was no longer Cruz, a name I'd abandoned with the acne. I was Macy. I was officially recognized as female. The fear and shame I'd carried for so long evaporated in a flood of relief. With the legal changes finalized, I sat down and looked at old photos of myself as Kyle. The photos of Kyle were blurry, grainy, and usually hidden away. The photos of Macy were bright, vibrant, and displayed proudly on my phone. I realized that Kyle hadn't truly died. He had been transformed. The internal struggles and anxieties I had faced for 3 years, the fear of being seen, the hiding, the desperation for clear skin were all part of a larger process. I realized I wasn't just fixing my skin, I was finding my soul. The hormone therapy wasn't just a medication, it was a catalyst for self-discovery. The final realization I had was simple. I wasn't a man who chose to become a woman. I was a person trapped in the wrong body. And the cure for my acne freed me. The acne wasn't a curse. It was a medical crisis that pushed me to make a choice I never would have made otherwise. I felt gratitude for the medical intervention. I felt grateful for Dr. Stone, for Sarah, and for Evan. I felt grateful for the courage I had found along the way. I looked in the mirror one last time. I saw Macy confident, beautiful, and happy. I saw a person at peace with herself. It has now been 3 years since I started hormone therapy. My life today is unrecognizable from the life I led as Kyle. My skin is immaculate. It's soft and radiant, with a healthy glow. The scarring from the old cysts is almost entirely faded, just minor pockmarks that I barely notice. I am free from pain, both physical and emotional. My physical appearance has settled into a comfortable femininity. I am fully accepted at work. I change my name in every system, and new co-workers assume I have always been Macy. I have a sense of style now that matches my inner self soft colors, dresses that drape well, and my signature coral lipstick. I've also settled into a stable, loving relationship with Evan. He has been my biggest support system, and we live together happily. He sees me as Macy, not as Kyle, and his affection and understanding are unwavering. My parents, after initial struggles, have fully embraced me. They call me Macy, and my father no longer avoids the subject. He is proud of my courage. This journey taught me that a person's identity isn't defined by their birth-assigned gender. It's defined by how they feel inside. Today, I had my final appointment with Dr. Stone. I was dressed in a soft, cream-colored blouse and a black skirt, and I was wearing my favorite perfume. I walked into her office. Dr. Stone smiled broadly when she saw me. "Macy, look at you. You are absolutely radiating health." We reviewed my vitals and my blood work. Everything looked perfect. We talked about maintaining my hormone levels and ensuring I continued with a healthy lifestyle. As she finished up, she leaned forward on her desk. "You have come such a long way, Macy." "I have," I said, a genuine smile on my face. "Thank you for everything, Dr. Stone. The medication cured my skin and helped me find myself." "You did the work, Macy," she said gently. "I just provided the tools." She handed me my prescription refill and a small slip for a follow-up visit in 6 months. "Just in case," I thanked her again. I stepped out of her office into the bright afternoon sunlight. The air felt fresh, light. I had completed the journey. I walked down the street, feeling confident and completely free. The person I had been before the hidden, tormented, acne-ridden Kyle was just a memory. I was Macy now. I was finally free.